Hello everybody, my name is Professor Rich, believe it or not. Today we're talking about a real topic, an issue that affects local people and communities in the UK and England. And we're going to have a real discussion in natural English. We're going to look at useful language, we're going to look at useful phrases, and I'm also going to give you a bit of information about life in the UK and things you can do when you have this sort of community problem. This is actually very related to the specific kind of teaching which is very popular in the UK now. It's called ESOL, and it's often aimed at people who've come here either as asylum seekers or refugees, or are coming to England to integrate and become part of the community. And basically, as part of the English teaching, we also teach skills and scenarios that are necessary for people to understand how to actually do things in life in England. So that's called ESOL, E-S-O-L. And today, the subject, the topic that we are going to talk about is about a supermarket, a big supermarket. So imagine a large supermarket is getting built near to your home. Listen to that. A new large supermarket is being built near your home. Are you happy or not? What do you think about that? Let's have a chat about it. Let's talk about it. Put your opinions in the chat and we'll have a little conversation here. You can see the scenario right over there. So a new large supermarket is being built very near to your home. Are you happy? Why or why not? Let's have a look. What do you think? What do you think about that? So, people in the chat still busy saying hello to each other. Great. Well, in that case, I will have a coffee while I wait for you. You will, of course, be very happy to know that my coffee today is coffee with lemon juice. Oh, yes. Apparently, they have this in Russia and parts of Eastern Europe. However, my Italian student tells me that it's weird and wrong. So, a new large supermarket is being built very near to your home. What do you think about that? Are you happy? Is it positive? Is it all a good thing? Sleepwalker says, if it's close to home, it's not very comfortable, of course. Why is it not very comfortable, Sleepwalker? Why is it not very comfortable? What is the problem? I mean, it's so convenient. You can walk to the supermarket in 2 minutes. You can buy anything you want. What problems could be caused? Look at that modal passive. What problems could be caused by having a supermarket close to your home? What problems could be caused by having a supermarket close to your home? Lovely modal passive there. Pavia says it depends. If the new supermarket brings convenient shopping options and improves the local economy, I might be happy about it. Fair enough. And me too, perhaps, but not everyone. Shimi says there will be a lot of car parking near my home. That's true, isn't it? Pallavi says, what about the noise? And Sleepwalker says lots of car traffic coming and going. However, Tetsuro says, I'm happy because it makes life more convenient. Well, that's pretty good. And Pavia says, however, if it brings increased traffic noise or other disruptions to the neighborhood, I might have mixed feelings. Julia says, from my perspective, it's a great idea for any form of shopping at your heart's content. Are you sure? Let's see. And Anawat also said it would be convenient to have a wide range of products to choose from. All right. So we have considered quite a lot of positives. Let's just turn it round and consider the negatives a little bit here. I'm going to show you 5 problems. 5 problems with having a supermarket close to your home. I want you to match the problems to the pictures. So we're learning some vocabulary, folks. Are you ready? Match the phrases to the pictures. Let's go. So we've got A to E, and we have the phrases at the bottom. I will read the phrases at the bottom right after I read hint comment. Hint says noisy, crowded, and there's no special things such as local products because I can buy everything online now. Interesting. So let's take a look at the vocabulary at the bottom. Oh, notice that I put B and then A. That's a bit weird, isn't it? What is that? Rich? That is so weird. Let me fix that. That's freaking me out. Okay. Right. We have traffic jams, impact on wildlife, loss of local shops, increased littering, and antisocial behavior. Antisocial behavior. So traffic jams, impact on wildlife, loss of local shops, increased littering, and antisocial behavior. I'd like you to match the vocabulary to the pictures, and I will give you about another 30 seconds to do that. And while you guys do that in the chat, for you guys who are watching this video later, smash that like button and hit subscribe. You found the best place to learn English on the internet. Real English language teaching using phrases that people really say and memorable, engaging lessons with interesting content, at least I hope. And if you don't understand everything I say, that's all right, because that is life. Life is like that. You don't understand everything that somebody says. I don't understand everything I say half the time. That's life. It's a process. You want about 70%. About 70, 80%. And then you're good. You're learning. You're learning communication skills. So we have a complete set of answers there from Shimi. Let's take a little look at that. A, traffic jams. B, impact on wildlife. C, loss of local shops. D, antisocial behavior. And E, increased littering. Thank you very much, Shimi. It's always helpful to have someone to do the answers for me. Brilliant. Well done, folks. Does anyone have any questions about those things? Like, what is littering? Antisocial? What is anti? And why social? Why do supermarkets attract antisocial behavior? What is it about supermarkets that attract antisocial behavior? So, what I want you guys to do is just think about these problems, and I want you to put them in order of how bad they are. So, how bad are these problems? Smash that like button, hit subscribe. How bad are these problems? And I want you to put them in order of how bad they are. I think it makes more sense if I put the problems here, actually. Like that. Okay. There we go. So 1 is the worst. The number 1 horrible problem is 1. And the one that's not so bad is number 5. So what do you think? What do you think, people? What's the worst problem? Let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion. Which of these problems are the worst? If, listen to this second conditional. If a supermarket were being built near you, if a supermarket were being built near you, which would be the worst problem for you? Which would be the problem you're most concerned about? Look at that. It's a second conditional and it's a passive. It's a passive. It's a continuous passive. That is lovely, isn't it? If a supermarket were being built near you, which of these problems would be the worst? If a supermarket were being built near you, which of these problems would be the worst? Got some answers coming in from Sleepwalker. Can you give me some reasons, though, Sleepwalker? I mean, you've said traffic jams. Really? Is that the worst thing? Traffic jams? Maybe traffic jams are quite annoying. And antisocial behaviour, no problem. You don't mind teenagers drinking on the streets, homeless people buying cheap alcohol at the supermarket, walking around drunk on the street in your neighbourhood, maybe fall asleep in your garden. I'm just saying, possible. It's possible. Noise pollution. The noise pollution. So that is an issue if you don't have very good sound insulation in your house. And I think in the UK, we often have quite good sound insulation because it's so cold. And because it's cold, then we have a lot of insulation, and with that we have sound insulation. So often we don't have problems hearing traffic, although it can be worse near to a road. That's true, it is much colder in Russia, but also it's much hotter in Russia. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how people survive in a country where it can be minus 20 and then plus 30. That is amazing. Like in Siberia. Tetsuro really doesn't like the idea of loss of local shops, says it breaks our community. It does, and it's a big problem, and it's happening everywhere. All right, so now we've had a think about which of these problems are not very good. Now let's consider, what can residents do about this? So resident or residents are the people who live in an area. And I want to know, when something like this happens, what can residents do about it? What can we do? There's a supermarket being built near your house. There's problems. And maybe you and some other people don't like it. What can you do about it? In your country, what can you do about it? And what do you think you can do about it in England? So Sleepwalker says you could protest to move the construction site. And that is an option. You could protest. You could protest. So that's one option. Let's have a residents' meeting here with our fellow residents. And we need to decide here, what other options do we have? What could we do about this building of a local supermarket? So one idea is we could protest. What other ideas do you have? What could we do here? You can see that Banana Man is very unhappy about this situation. He is very unhappy about this situation. Deputy Dog, he knows there's going to be trouble. Pavia says that residents can address these concerns by getting involved in local planning processes, expressing their views at public hearings and working with city or town councils. That's absolutely right. Is that the same in your country, Pavia? Because that is exactly what you could do here in the UK. There's more you could do, But those ideas that you've put there are pretty good. Sleepwalker says, if there's some park nearby, you could speak out in defense of it. Did I say anything about a park nearby? Kind of interesting. Where did you get that from, Sleepwalker? I'm not sure I mentioned about a park nearby. Oh, it's because of the wildlife, right? Because of the problem, the wildlife. Tetsura said we can submit petitions to city councils. That's a good one. What is a petition, by the way? What is a petition? Wow, you guys are getting all of my ideas. Pavia says engaging with local media to raise awareness and petitioning for traffic management solutions and environmental protection. So we got petition again. We got the idea of engaging with local media. And of course, in Spain, demonstration, and when Manuel says demonstration, he means protest, is the preferred option. People love to protest in Spain. Sleepwalker says a formal document signed by many people. So that is the definition of petition. A petition. So let's have a look at some of those options that we've talked about here. What are the pros and cons of each? So what are the pros and cons of each of these? The pros and cons, the good things, the bad things, the advantages and the disadvantages, the benefits and the drawbacks. What are the pros and cons of each of these? So a signed petition. A pro, it's easy, right? Is it easy to do a signed petition? You just write something down and go and get some signatures. Also, you can actually do a signed petition online now in the UK. There's a special website for it, which is a government website where you can do like petitions online. So that's interesting. What are the pros and cons of each of these? The con of a signed petition is it's quite easy to ignore, isn't it? Someone sends a petition that's like a document with a load of signatures. I mean, you can ignore that, can't you? I think that's a good point as well by Sleepwalker, that it can take a lot of time to organise. Well, I guess all of these things can take a lot of time to organise, really. Another problem with a signed petition is there might not be many residents in the area. It might be a small number of people being affected, but they're still being affected. So any ideas that you have? Raquel uses the very interesting language there that it can fall on deaf ears, which means they don't care. So meet with the local MP. And Anouat makes an interesting comment there that says you really find the local MP after they get elected. Yep, that's true. And the meeting may be delayed and a lot of time will be lost. Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it, to meet the local MP? They just meet who they want to meet. You don't have a right to meet them. Whenever I ask to meet them, they just tell me no, fob me off with something. Pavia says, if not managed properly, petitions can create false expectations among supporters about the likelihood of success, potentially leading to frustration and disillusionment. Interesting. Hint says, we can't do anything in order to prevent these kind of instructions. It's better to express your opinion in governments or council. If you're struggling with some illness, can provide a suitable place. What do you mean with some illness, Hint? And Julia says it's easier said than done to engage in the aforementioned suggestions, but the last one, yes, well, the last one is easier done than said, but it's maybe not very useful. I mean, a social media campaign, people just don't care, do they? Social media campaign, zero interest. You know, it's like people get very happy about their social media campaigns, but they really don't often do anything, do they? They really don't often do anything. When was the last time that a social media campaign had an effect? I know some, actually. I can think of some instances when a social media campaign, but not a government one. Not a government one. It was a private one. You know, the one that comes to mind for me is the Sonic movie. There was a social media campaign about the Sonic movie because people thought that the character of Sonic looked terrible. And they did a social media campaign, and then the company making the film, they actually acted. They actually changed the look of Sonic based on that social media campaign. So it was successful. It was very good. Talking about engaging with local media, Sleepwalker says, this may be a small report that won't resonate with anyone. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, you'd hope that the newspaper would support you, but you never know, do you really? You never know. And we have some interesting language here from Pavia. Effective media engagement can help galvanize public support and opinion, potentially leading to more volunteers, petition signers, and general backing for your cause. Obviously, that's the hope. People are very interested in local news. And holding a protest, well, lots of people are working. They can't protest every day. The only people who can actually protest are, of course, students. But then again, says Pavia, media coverage can provoke backlash from opponents, including negative publicity or increased polarization, which may complicate resolution efforts. Polarization means it makes people apart from each other. Backlash from opponents. For example, who are these whinging people not complaining about the soup? Everybody wants a supermarket. Why can't they just put up with it? There's just a few of them in their houses, and the rest of us want the convenience of a supermarket, you know? So then, before you know it, you've galvanized the opposition. And of course, Manuel is once again talking about protests because he's Spanish, and we know how they love protests. All right, fantastic. So that does actually lead us on to our homework for next week. Here's the homework for next week. So I will read this, and you can read it yourself. It's a writing task. You are a resident of a town where a new supermarket is proposed to be built. Many locals, including yourself, are opposed to this because of the negative impacts it could have on the community. You decide to write a letter to the editor of the local newspaper to inform the public about your community's objections and the actions you plan to take to oppose the construction. So basically, you're going to write a letter to the newspaper telling them that you and some other residents oppose the construction of the supermarket. And there are some specifications there. The letter should be formal in tone. Make sure your arguments are clear and well organized. Use ChatGPT if you want. No problem with that. But if it sounds like a robot, it will get lower marks than human attempts. ChatGPT is fine. But if it sounds like a robot, if someone sends me an email that sounds like a robot, don't like it. But if it sounds like a human, I don't care if they use ChatGPT, it's fine. But you've got to sound like a human, folks. All right, the letter should be approximately 150 to 200 words in length. And these will be corrected based on English clarity of points and appropriate voice, formal appropriate emotion, human but professional, etc. Okay. So that's your homework. Get those sent in. And that is the end of our content for today. Now we're going to talk about the homework from last week. So last week we had some homework, which was... Oh, we've got some reflection questions. Should we do the reflection questions first? Okay, let's have some reflection questions, folks. So the idea of reflection questions is to try to remember the vocabulary from the day and to engage with it. So let's talk about this. Have you ever participated in a signed petition? What was it for? So type your answers in the chat. Let me tell you, a signed petition. I have never participated in... No, wait. I did once. I'm trying to remember what the petition was. Oh, yeah. I signed a petition asking for an investigation into the effectiveness of lockdowns in the UK. Bit of a spicy one, but there you go. Signed a petition asking for an investigation into the effectiveness of lockdowns in the UK, which they did do an investigation and they found that they weren't effective. Lockdowns were not effective. They were ineffective in the UK. That is proven, scientifically proven, that we made a mistake locking down. Oops. Nice one. Good job. Well done. I look forward to the arrest of Boris Johnson and all the members of the cabinet at the time. So how about you folks? Has anyone participated in a signed petition? And what was it for? I guess no one's participated in a signed petition. While we get some answers about the signed petition, I will give you the next question to think about. Oh, here's Tetsuro. Tetsuro says, I've signed a petition against changing a course of planes in the near airport. Oh, that sounds interesting, Tetsuro. They were going to change the course, hey? How do you feel about traffic jams? How do you deal with them? So next question, how do you feel about traffic jams? How do you deal with them? I absolutely cannot stand traffic jams. I don't really drive that much, to be perfectly honest. But when I do, I really dislike traffic jams. And the way I deal with them is I play music, sing to myself, or I just go crazy. I really don't like traffic jams. Even though it's not about the time or anything, it's just the frustration of not making progress. It's so... Pavi here talking about the petition one. She says, as a student at university, I once participated in a signed petition urging the administration to address the lack of proper classes and resources in the English department. That's a pretty good one. Good job. I know what it says. I signed the petition to change the name of Turkey to Turkey. Really? Aren't you in Thailand? Yeah, I know what you mean. If you're in a traffic jam, I mean, just being able to make any kind of progress is better than traffic jams, isn't it? And Tenerife means traffic jams here and everywhere the whole year. Yeah, I need to get rid of them. You know what they need to do, Manuel? Make motorbikes super cheap, make cars super expensive. No problem. Everyone has a motorbike. Done. Motorbikes are just great for islands, aren't they? Why did they stop with the motorbikes. Motorbikes are perfect for islands. All right, everybody, next one. What sort of antisocial behaviour is there in your town, and what should the government do about it? What sort of antisocial behaviour is in your town? What should the government do about it? So, antisocial behaviour in my town. Antisocial behaviour in my town. So, there's quite a lot of marijuana that gets smoked on the streets. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with people smoking marijuana, but smoking it on the streets, I don't think is good. Just like drinking on the streets isn't good, you know? If you're going to consume a narcotic, then I think you should do it inside. Yeah, I mean, even drinking coffee on the street is a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, I do it sometimes, but it's a bit weird. But smoking marijuana, I mean, it goes everywhere. It smells so strong as well. Like, it just smells really strong. I don't know why marijuana smells so strong these days, but it does. Antisocial, but what other antisocial behaviour? People don't clean up their dog poop. It's a big problem in some of the towns near to me, that people just don't clean up after their dogs. And this is where I think the Singaporeans have it right. If you drop chewing gum on the floor, you go to jail for 10 years. No, that's too extreme. But you can see that where the problem comes from. You know, if you're just too relaxed about it, people get a bit too liberal. And before you know it, dog pooing everywhere and people don't clean it up. And it's disgusting. And the problem also is that once people start to do it, so you go outside your house, you walk down the street and you can see that someone's dog has pooed somewhere, then obviously the next person with their dog doesn't care. They're just like, oh, some dogs already pooed on the pavement, so I'm just going to let my dog do it as well. Why should I clean it if they don't? Before you know it, the whole pavement's just covered in the stuff. It's disgusting, and it is very serious antisocial behaviour. And one of the things that is really weird about it is there is actually a legal fine that the police can do. £1,000, so you can get a fine for £1,000 for that kind of action. Criminal act. Well, I don't know if it's criminal, but it's an action. But it doesn't seem to happen that much. So it's a problem. It's antisocial behaviour. It's bad. Let's have a look at what you guys have got. Drawing graffiti on the walls of buildings, does it count? Well, Sleepwalker, it can count. The thing is, there's graffiti and then there's graffiti. Okay? Let me show you, right? So let's have a look at this. Okay. So that, in my opinion, is not antisocial behavior necessarily. Okay? It's, street art. It's whatever. It's street art. So it's not necessarily an issue, right? That is, I think, antisocial behavior. Mind you, it didn't look particularly pretty in the first place. I mean, the big problem with graffiti is when you have something that's quite beautiful, quite attractive, and then someone puts graffiti on it and it looks awful. That's when it's a problem. Or when it's obscene. Well, I don't know, man. Well, I mean, there's antisocial behavior and then there's antisocial behavior, right? I mean, a little bit of antisocial behavior here and there, kids hanging around, whatever, but can get worse. Pavio's talking about vandalism, public intoxication, late night disturbances. The government should increase community policing. But, you know, the problem with community policing, Pavia, is you're criminalizing people. And these are just people. These are kids who have a life in the future. And you think these teenagers or whatever who are hanging around and being a bit dodgy, you know, in 20 years' time, they might be an engineer, plumber, electrician, might be doing something useful. Now, if you just send the police out there to arrest them or whatever, then maybe instead of being a plumber in 20 years, they'll be a criminal in 20 years. You got to think about things like that. The police need to know how to deal with it. And Julia says, hardly ever seen any type of antisocial behaviour, especially using drugs in our hometown. As far as I'm aware, Julia, in your country, it's very strict on drugs, as with a lot of East Asian countries. Foreigners can do it, though. That's the weird thing I found. Like, if you go to, like, Bali or Indonesia, it's like the laws for drugs in Indonesia are so bad for locals, but all the foreigners are there taking all kinds of drugs, cocaine, ecstasy, whatever. You know? I found that weird. That's weird, isn't it? The government just has this two-tier policing. They just ignore the foreigners, don't care. They're bringing money. Who cares? It just shows you that maybe it's all about money, you know? It's annoying. It's frustrating. I don't think it's right. In Tokyo, there's very little antisocial behavior and it's relatively safe. Yeah, I bet, Tetsuro. That is the Japanese way, isn't it? Basically, unless someone is Yakuza, then no problem. And even the Yakuza, it's not like they don't do like antisocial behavior because they're like respectable criminals, right? Like if you follow the Yakuza rules, no problem. Pallavi says, yeah, people like to throw their trash anywhere and whatever they eat, they drop on the road anywhere. That's not acceptable, I think. No, that's terrible. That's littering, Pallavi. Littering and even throw their trash anywhere sounds like dumping. So dumping is a step up from littering, and dumping or tipping, we sometimes call it tipping or dumping. That's when you just dump your household waste on the street somewhere. It's really bad. And if you do that here in the UK and they find you, you're in big trouble. I have to say there's some drunken people in Tokyo. Well, that's because Japanese people, when they drink alcohol, get affected very heavily, Tetsuro. I remember when I lived in Tokyo and I saw this old guy on the train. It was Friday and he just had a bag with like 4 cans of beer, and he drank like half of the first can, and he was he was on the train with like he drank half a can. He's like looking around at like girls on the train. Oh no, yeah, Tokyo sometimes has a problem with that. Dear me. And I thought, wow, what's going to happen when he has the other 3 cans? You know, it's just like half a can and he's gone. But he was in a suit, you know, he was in like this respectable business suit. Maybe he got fired that day. I don't know. You know, yeah, sometimes people got to blow off steam, I guess. And do make sure that you smash that like button, hit subscribe. Today we're talking about... Well, right now we're talking about antisocial behavior. Smoking. My neighbor smokes at 12 a.m. when we go to sleep. The smell kills me. Is that marijuana or tobacco? Because I don't really get that. Well, I do get bothered by tobacco, actually. I do. I get bothered by all of them. Yeah. I'm not saying that actually smoking... I'm not saying that people shouldn't be allowed to smoke. But when it affects other people, it's kind of annoying. I mean, the smell of alcohol can be annoying. You know, if someone drinks a lot and you can smell the alcohol on their breath, that can be annoying. And just having bad breath can be annoying. Smells are annoying. Fact of the day from Prof. Rich. Smash that like button. Hint says, I think it's good and adding some amazing talk in some places. In future, it could be attractive. Talk, touch, an amazing touch. Oh, you mean graffiti? It can be. People throw their garbage everywhere. Yeah. Right, I'm going to show you guys the next one while I read some of the things. So, why do you think littering is a big problem in some places, but not in others? And moving on, let's see. Plavi, Manuel. And Plavi says, I never even drop a single piece of paper on the ground. Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't drop a single piece of paper on the ground. The only thing that you should ever drop on the ground is biodegradable things. And even then, not on the pavement. It needs to be in the bushes, somewhere like that, right? You know, if you have like an apple core, right? Or some orange peel, I think it's okay for that to go in the bushes. In, you know, a month or two, it will be eaten by the worms and it will be soil, no problem. It's just compost. It's nature, right? It's just like if the tree had the apple, it drops, the apple will drop on the floor anyway, right? It's fine. But anything else needs to go in the correct place. Oh yeah, I want to just thank Manuel last time for buying me a coffee. Thank you so much for that, Manuel. I noticed it after the stream. So on Wednesday, got a lovely donation from Manuel. I told you not to, though. I was putting it out there for other people. Oh, I see, and you've done it again. Okay. All right, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Thank you. If anyone does want to give me a tip, you can do that down below in the video, or you can do that with a super chat. Highlighted super chats. I'm looking forward to that £100 super chat. Anyone out there? £100 super chat? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Moving on. Sleepwalker says, a garbage in those places where it's removed regularly is normal, but not in spontaneous garbage dumps that people decide to create for themselves. That's bad. It is really bad. You need to be fined for that. Wow, and Plavi says, whenever I see trash anywhere, it makes my blood boil. Plavi, maybe you need to, like, move to Singapore or something? Have you ever considered a Singaporean husband? Like, they have cleanliness. Or Japanese. Hey, you better investigate them, though, because those people also come with other problems. Cleanliness? Great. Other things? Everyone has their pros and cons. Especially Prof. Rich, eh? Just spend 5 minutes talking to my wife. She'll tell you all about the problems of being with British people. Pavia says, littering tends to be a bigger problem in areas with limited access to waste disposal infrastructure, inadequate public education. In limited access to waste disposal. I don't know about that. Infrastructure, okay. Public education, I actually think one of the big things, in my opinion, Pavia, is that it's a reflection of broader social problems. So basically, if there's littering going on, then I think it basically means that there are other social problems. And Plavi says, a husband? Yes, I'm super interested in that. And just post your contact details in the chat. No, I'm kidding. She says she doesn't want one. She's too young. She's only 10 years old, okay? Stay away, everybody. All right, moving on. No, don't get married until you're 42. 31. 25. I don't know. It depends how many kids you want. Do you want 5 kids? If you want 5 kids, you have to get married at like 19 or 20. If you want 2 kids, yeah, okay, 25, 28. 1 kid, 32. Get away with that. 33, 34. Who knows? With technology, who knows what you can do? In general, though, I think as a society, we've kind of lost the meaning of marriage. It's a shame. Really. What's happened? What's happened to us, folks? Let's solve all the world's problems. Do humans have a duty to protect wildlife, or is progress more important? What do you think about that? Hint says, in terms of alcohol and substance, it's not acceptable in my country. The problem is driving recklessly, which governments now put some in restrict conditions to extracting the license. In terms of alcohol and substance that is not acceptable. Right. You mean alcohol and drugs in your country? Driving recklessly. Okay, I see. Extracting the license, yeah. I thought you were German, Hint. Did you have a problem with drink driving in Germany? Of course, we must protect wildlife for our good environment and ecology. Help wild animals in parks, build feeders with food and water. Yeah, but is it our duty? Few and far between in my city, there are a lot of cabins for waste disposal. We have to put plastic, carbon, grass, leftovers, yeah. Yeah, recycling it's recycling gone wild. It's everywhere now. The recycling bin is now bigger than the what do they call it? It used to be general waste, but now they call it landfill. So it used to be general waste, now it's landfill, and that's the small one. And then you have recycling, massive. Oh, hints of Saudi, really? Okay. Who was the German then? We used to have a German who had like a similar name to that, I think. The Hint. There was definitely a German, right? From North Germany. I don't know. Saudi. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. Ah, yeah. So Saudi Arabia is very clean, right? You have very clean streets, but very strict punishment if someone does something wrong. This is my understanding. This is what the rest of the world says about Saudi Arabia. It's very strict, but very ordered. Blah, blah, blah. Use the common sense. Yeah. Well, it's all about education, Pallavi. That's the problem. And some people just, they got their minds on other things. They don't realize that being a messy person, being messy in the world actually makes your personality messy. They don't realize that. It's a difficult thing to understand. You need a good education. Not everyone gets a good education. And Tetsura says, humans have a duty to protect wildlife because we need it to live every day. And recently, progress has been advanced too fast. We can delay progress. We can delay it. Ah, yeah. Well, it's too late, isn't it? But we should... We should mega delay it. Stop. Let's go backwards 10 years, okay? Especially technology. But go forwards in common sense. Julia says global warming is soaring up every day to the highest that we're obliged to stick to the rules and regulations owing to not... I think some of your grammar's a little bit off there, Julia. So owing to, no. You want to say in order to. It's the opposite of owing to. This will not exacerbate the situation owing to the rules and regulations. It's like the other way around. Check the meaning of owing to. Wildlife is for enjoying, blah, blah, blah. Progress is important, should be pursued in a way that considers the long-term sustainability of ecosystems. Oh, yes, grow more trees. Thank you for that, Shimi. I liked how the trees bounced around the screen as well. People should use emojis more. You have magical power. You can make them appear on the screen. I think that's cool. All right. And not going to bother with that. Right, so you can download the notes from today's class from the link, or that is right there. And it's also in the chat. And it's also down below the video. At least it will be in just a second. There we go. In the chat, down below the video, on the screen. It's everywhere that you could possibly want it to be. That's the notes from today. And here's the homework from last week. So the homework from last week was tell a story in under 2 minutes. Choose one of the following types of sentence. Use only that type of sentence for the whole story. We have complex sentences, simple sentences, and the passive. Record yourself speaking about the story. A maximum of 2 minutes. You can write and use a script. So let's have a listen. And while we listen, folks, try to guess If they don't say, try to guess which type of sentence each person has decided to say. Let's start with the first one.
Hello there, everybody. So, here goes my story. Every time Richard tried to meditate, his cat, Ginger, who seemed to misunderstand the purpose of quiet time, would choose the exact moment to showcase his acrobatic talents, which included dramatic leaps from the couch to the coffee table. As he settled down into a peaceful trance one sunny afternoon, the room was suddenly filled with the sound of clattering, because Ginger, intrigued by the floating dust motes highlighted by the sunlight, had attempted to catch one, causing a cascade of books and a potted plant to come crashing down from the shelf. The plant, which had been a gift from his friend, and was known for its supposed air purifying qualities, ended up on Ginger's head, transforming him into a green haired lion. A sight so ridiculous that Richard's attempt at meditation was replaced by fits of laughter that lasted longer than his planned session of serenity. His laughter, in turn, was met with a confused meow from Ginger, who sat amidst the chaos, wearing his new plant hat with an expression of dignified embarrassment. Thank you for lending me your ears.
All right, so I do believe that was Pavia telling a story about using complex sentences only. So all of the sentences there had they had a subordinating and subordinate clause. Subordinating and subordinate clause, making for quite an interesting story, actually. I don't know how you saw that happen. Seems like the kind of thing that really does happen. In fact, about 20 minutes ago, I heard something go bang, and I have a feeling that the cats are responsible. And I'm just hoping that it wasn't anything important. I'm going to check when we finish the stream. Oh, dear. Right. Thank you very much. It would be really nice for you to share that audio on the Discord, Pavia, because I think there's quite a lot to take from that, and I think people would appreciate it. Some great language. Very interesting story. Always good to listen to Pavia's pronunciation as well, because it's very strong. It's basically, some people might say it's better than my pronunciation. All right. Okay, let's move on.
Breaking news! Last night, the largest and most valuable diamond in the world, the Blue Ice Diamond, which had been on display at the museum, was stolen, despite the diamond being carefully protected and kept behind a locked glass door. It is believed that this may be the great...
So it's looking like Anwar is going for passives, using only passives to tell his story, and in a plot twist, he's actually using one of the previous homeworks for the context, which was about the Blue Ice Diamond. That's a nice one because the passive is often used for reporting the news.
Greatest diamond robbery in history up until now. Immediate investigation was conducted by the police. Every nook and cranny in the museum was being searched. Discussions were held about how the theft could have invaded and hidden in the museum without anyone noticing anything suspicious, and questions were raised by the police. It was reported that 2 guards who had worked the previous night were found unconscious. It was suggested that a chloroform agent was used to knock them out. Guard A was knocked out and hidden in a chest in the Indian room, while the other was found in a security room. But fortunately, nobody got injured upon regaining consciousness. 2 keys that had been used to open the glass door and deactivate the alarm were discovered missing from the crime scene, it is alleged that the theft acted alone without assistance from an insider. The investigation will be continued until the diamond is found. An update is supposed to have been given by the police within the next hour. Please stay tuned. Breaking news.
All right, very good. Very good, Anwar, especially with the attempt to use a variety of different tense there in passive. And there were very few mistakes or difficult things, corrections and so on for me to pick on. Probably every nook and cranny were being searched. I think one of the issues about this is the fact that you made it continuous, but you really needed to say another thing happened while it was continuous. Because, if you say, I was searching every part of the house, you need something else. You don't just say that. You need to, like, an event to happen as well. When XYZ happened. And you didn't have that. So this particular sentence seemed a bit weird being in the continuous. So what you'd want to do is probably put that in a simple. The other one was the investigation will be continued. Grammatically, it's okay. In terms of meaning, it's okay. But because continue itself is actually, it's a verb that can be used both ways. That it can be the police are continuing the investigation, but it's also the investigation is continuing. Or even we just say the investigation continues is like the language that the media use. But because you can do that, then we don't actually need to use the passive. So I wonder if there's another verb we could use that we could actually do this with. The investigation will be... Let me have a think a minute. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough even because of the investigation. Because what verb can you use between police and investigation? Will be conducted. But it's already being conducted. Will be carried on. But then we have the same problem, but where we could just say the investigation will carry on without making it passive. Can we make this passive? No, I don't think we can do it. How about if we say the investigation will not be closed until the suspects are found. I suppose we could say something like that. But otherwise, yeah, you just say the investigation continues, use it like that. All right, brilliant. Thank you very much, Anwat. And we move on to Julia.
Let me dive into mastery of our mindset amidst the endless flow of existence and in a paradoxical situation. Our journey towards cultivating an indomitable spirit is not an easy feat. In a world cluttered with forgettable and lackluster messages and digital dementia, it causes us to be prone to unfamiliar and an insatiable desire to be in the know. Let's say we stamp out of bed with positive vibe and immune from negative vibes and allow yourself to get inundated with your work. Contrary to all expectations, We all feel the weight of our penurious situation pressing down upon us to some extent. In my humble opinion, we need zero in on our bucket list and put your nose to the grindstone. If you want to be somebody from nobody, we may get the wrong end of the stick with each other or catch in the crossfire during our communications as well as in our actions. Comfort me, a blessing in disguise or a great lesson in disguise. Everyone has its phases of their timeline. Notwithstanding any outcomes, we deserve a pat on our back for our achievements and accomplishments. Much to my satisfaction, I put every target with the best foot forward out of sheer of my unshakable convictions, not the obligations. How are you guys? Are you movers or shakers or excusers? Let me dive in.
And so it seems like what we got there was advice for getting on in life and getting your bucket list done. Is that right, Julia? Ending with the rather interesting thing. How about you guys? Are you movers or shakers? I could presume that we were looking at complex sentences there, but Julia almost always speaks with complex sentences anyway. I've mentioned it before that Julia uses very complex English when forming sentences. Lots of idioms and subordinate clauses. Lots of idioms and subordinate clauses. So I think that's what we were going on there. Movers or shakers, and comments on a bucket list. And then finally, we have one more to look at. I'm looking forward to a lamb chop. Were they complex sentences, Julia? Is that right? Is that what we were going for? Were they all with subordinate clauses? Let's just listen to Julia's once more, right? Let me write all of the idioms that Julia uses. Are you ready for this?
Let me dive into mastery of our mindset amidst the endless flow of existence and in a paradoxical.
Wait, I've already missed some.
Into mastery of our mindset amidst the endless flow of existence and in a paradoxical situation. Our journey towards cultivating an indomitable spirit is not an easy feat. In a world cluttered with forgettable and lackluster messages and digital dementia, indomitable spirit is not an easy feat. In a world cluttered with forgettable and lackluster messages and digital dementia, it causes us to be prone to infamia and an insatiable desire to be in the know. Let's say we stamp out of bed with positive vibe and immune from negative vibes, and allow yourself to get inundated with stamp out of bed with positive vibe and immune from negative vibes, and allow yourself to get inundated with your work. Contrary to all expectations, we all feel the weight of our penurious situation pressing down upon us to some extent. In my humble opinion, we need zero in on our bucket list and put your nose to the grindstone. If you want to be somebody from nobody, we may get the wrong end of the stick with each other or catch in the crossfire during our communications as well as in our actions. Comfort me, stick with each other or catch in the crossfire during our communications as well as in our actions. Comfort me, a blessing in disguise or a great lesson in disguise. Everyone has its phases of their timeline. Notwithstanding any outcomes, we deserve a pat on our back for our achievements and accomplishments. Much to my satisfaction, I put every target with the best foot forward out of sheer of my unshakable convictions, not the obligations. How are you guys? Are you movers or shakers or excuser? Let me dive into...
All right. I think you get the idea. Dive into, ebbs and flows, not an easy feat, prone to positive negative vibes, be inundated with, feel the weight of something. We need to zero in on something, put your nose to the grindstone, be somebody from nobody, get the wrong end of the stick, get caught in the crossfire, a blessing in disguise, come what may, pat on the back, much to my satisfaction, put one's best foot forward, and movers or shakers. That's a lot of idioms, Julia. It's a lot of idioms. All right. But excellent vocabulary and language. Good. One of my favourite idioms that Julia used here. Let me show you the favourite ones. Okay, ebbs and flows. I love that. Positive, negative vibes, like that. Get on the with that's good. Need to zero in on. Yeah, it's good. I'm not a big fan of nose to the grindstone. Somebody from Nodeby. Get the wrong end of the stick. I'm not a big fan of that. Get caught in the crossfire. It's okay. Blessing in disguise. Yeah, it's a good one. Come what may, yeah, it's a good one. Pat on the back, yeah, it's a good one. Put our best foot forward, it's okay. Much to my satisfaction, it's okay. All right, there's my favourite. You want to learn some ebbs and flows, positive, negative rise, get on data with work, need to zero in on something, blessing in disguise, come what may, pat on the back, much to my satisfaction. Boom, right. Thank you very much, Julia. Moving on, Vladimir. Where is it? There he is.
Ice cream is a sheer thinning fluid. Examples of complex fluids we encounter every day are tomato, ketchup.
Sometimes, Vladimir, I wonder, like, what? Where has this come from? Did I miss something? It's just we're supposed to tell a story. We're talking about ice cream. Okay, folks, here we go. Ice cream.
Ice cream is a sheer thinning fluid. Examples of complex fluids we encounter every day are tomato, ketchup, ice cream, honey, chocolate, toothpaste, and shampoo. Add the sugar and water to your saucepan and set the mixture at medium heat.
So we're getting a how-to. Is this how to make ice cream? Add the sugar to the saucepan. We're getting a recipe.
The mixture will bubble and you should again end up with a milky liquid that acts as a glue. The real secret of how the shell is formed lies with oils that are used. By blending these oils in the proper proportion and mixing them with the other ingredients, a product with a tailor-made solidification temperature can be formulated.
So we went from sugar and something else to glue and then oils.
When the
What happened to ice cream?
liquid syrup
Yes.
at room temperature hits the cold surface of the ice cream in your bowl, its
Creme
temperature
brulee.
drops rapidly. Once it goes below its solidification temperature, the hot chocolate shell forms almost magically.
Now I'm getting it. Okay. You're talking about how to make something to put on top of ice cream that makes a hard, crunchy shell on top of your ice cream. Fantastic. We've got it. All right, there you go, folks. If anyone's eating ice cream today, there's your instruction. You know what? I feel like some ice cream. There's your instructions for making a lovely, crunchy, chocolatey, sugary shell on top of your ice cream. Complex sentences. Let me hear.
Is a sheer thinning fluid. Examples of complex fluids we encounter every day are tomato.
Yeah, examples of complex fluids we encounter every day are... Nice.
Add the sugar and water to your saucepan and set the mixture at medium heat. The mixture will bubble.
Sorry to call you out, Vladimir, but that was not a complex sentence. Let's hear that again.
And set the mixture, toothpaste, and shampoo. Add the sugar and water to your saucepan and set the mixture at medium heat.
So, I would definitely, instead of at medium heat, I would put 2, set it to medium heat or on even. But this is not a complex sentence. Do you know why? Because this is 2 independent clauses. So we could call it a coordinating clause or something like that. But basically you have 2 independent clauses joined by and. So this is actually what we call a compound sentence, which is different than a complex sentence. So a complex sentence must have a subordinate clause. A subordinate clause is a clause that you can't have on its own. For example, put the sugar and water to the saucepan. If you want to have a great time. And then you want to have a great time is a subordinate clause because it's impossible to take out. Okay, you do understand. Thank you, Vladimir. It was absolutely fantastic. Bubble size can be measured by popping the bubble against a piece of sugar paper and then measuring the diameter of the splat with a ruler. Where do you get that from? That is true. Why would we want to measure bubble size? Brilliant. Thank you, Vladimir. It's wonderful. All right, everybody, remember that the homework from today is in the notes. So if you want to do that, then check out the notes. Thank you very much for joining me today. It is Saturday. It's time for everyone to rest and have a lovely weekend, including myself. So go out there, rest up. Have a lovely weekend. My name has been Professor Rich. It's been my pleasure, as always, to join you today. And I'm speaking about 1,000,000 miles per hour because I feel like it. Did you understand what I just said? If you did, then smash that like button, hit subscribe. And if you didn't understand what I said, then what you need to do is to watch some more live streams and stay with us. And before you know it, you'll be able to understand every damn thing that Professor Rich says. So everybody, have a lovely week, have a lovely weekend, and enjoy the rest of this hopefully sunny weekend. I will join you on Wednesday. We live stream on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. UK time and on Saturdays at 1 p.m. UK time. Comment down below on what topic you'd like to see next, and if you'd like to support the channel, then there's a link there to do that as well. The link says buy Rich a coffee. Minimum donation of £5. Also, I am recruiting students. If you would like to be one of my students, then you can email me at professorrich@gmail.com. Let me know your requirements, and I often give a free level test before we decide the schedule. Paying by the month. That's me done for the day, folks, and I will catch you later. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye now.